Welcome to She Sells Radio. Today, my friend, I have a very special and kind of different podcast for you. And this is actually a recording of a live training I did recently called Money in Abundance because it was all about money and abundance. And I taught a concept that I haven't taught much publicly before, but it's groundbreaking and will change your experience of sales, of business, of money when you learn it. And it's all about your financial set point. So, learning what your financial set point is, how it impacts your sales, your business, and then how do you increase it if you want more money coming in. So, I do a deep dive into that. I share a lot of new teachings around that. And I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. And then also in this training, at the end, I share about a new program that I've just released called Aligned for Abundance. And depending on when you're listening to this episode, there is a promo code that I share from the live training. It may or may not still work based upon when you're listening. However, I want to make sure that you as a podcast listener get some love from me regardless, because I am so grateful for you. My podcast audience is like, you are my favorite audience to serve. And so with that, I want to make sure that you don't miss out on this. And so I've created a special promo code for you that you can use just for you as a podcast listener if the program is speaking to you. So you can go check it out at elisearcher.com/abundance course. So again, that's elisearcher.com/abundance course. And the promo code abundance50 will get you $50 off at checkout. So again, that's abundance50 just for you as my podcast listener. And look, either way, whether you feel called to move forward in the program or not, you are going to get so much value in this training session. And I can't wait to hear on social media what your biggest takeaways are about your financial set point. Did you know you had one? Wow, it was a big aha for me when I figured this out. And then learning how to shift it really is life-changing. So I can't wait to hear what's speaking to you, what your feedback is. And without further ado, we will get into the episode now. Hello, welcome, welcome. All right, bear with me, please, if you are joining from Facebook or YouTube. We have had some exciting technical difficulties this morning. I got to go live on Instagram because I was trying to fix some things with my tech over on my laptop. So thank you so much for your patience. If you have been waiting, let's go live over on Instagram. Okay, I think we are okay. Oh my goodness, y'all. If you were planning on joining right at 11:30, thank you so much for your patience. I went to go live actually on time, and my broadcasting platform first put two of me in the in the broadcast, and there was this crazy feedback, and then it kept telling me I was out of storage space and this thing wouldn't be recorded unless I deleted recordings and upgraded. So I've been working on deleting recordings and upgrading. And here we are 9 minutes late, but we're here live. Let me say hello to everyone who's joining live. I see you on Instagram. Martin Brosman, my friend. Oh, it's so good to see you. Returning to me with love. Hello, hello, Christine, David. Oh, so good to see everyone today. And hey, if you are joining live on Facebook or YouTube as well, pop me a comment. Let me know that you're here. I'm so excited to be with everyone. And the irony of scheduling this live stream all about money and abundance for tax day, if you're joining in real time, that wasn't intentional, but let's just start by acknowledging if you're here in the States, you may either be feeling like you may be feeling a rush of abundance because you are getting a big refund or any kind of refund on your taxes, and or you may have just had to do some mindset work around how much taxes you actually just paid, right? Let me know in the comments, is anyone on like either end of that spectrum? I'm very curious to know. And here's one little tip, pay your bills. Since we're talking about abundance, since we're talking about money today, pay your bills with gratitude. Pay your taxes with gratitude, my friend. That is a seriously shifting thing. I used to just feel like, oh, anytime I was, writing the check or flowing money out for taxes or for bills. And it's just a little energetic shift. Like, even if it feels like you're paying a lot, that means you made a lot, my friend. And I also love thinking about the people on the other side who are receiving the money. They have families, they have kids, people in the public sector role who do things for all of us to help support us. And I found just shifting that energy and that dynamic when we flow out money gets you in so much better circulation money where you're able to receive it as well. So to all my friends who I see joining on Instagram, it's so good to see you. Cara, hello. Janine, so good to see you. And again, if you are joining on Facebook or YouTube, pop me a comment. Let me know you're here. That's actually the only way I can see you with this streaming platform. So with all of that, we are going to talk money. We are going to talk abundance. We are going to talk wealth consciousness today. And I'll also make a quick note that if you are not watching in real time, whenever you're watching, the replay is perfect. The concepts here are going to apply whether you're joining me in real time or whether you're watching this 6 months, a year, 10 years down the road, if it's around that long. So if you are watching in real time, though, you may or may not know, I've been kind of MIA. I haven't done a live in a bit because I've been on maternity leave. So our little one is a little over 5 weeks now and is like rocking my world in all the best ways. Thank you so much, Cara. I'm so glad you're here. It's so good to see you. And so I've been kind of like underground a bit. And, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's those times when we go inward and when we're like, I'm not creating new content. I'm not going to do a live. I'm not doing any of this, that because you finally have the space that you normally don't have just in the busyness of daily life, you actually open up to new downloads and new ideas. Let me know, give me like a heart or give me a yes in the comments if you have had that experience, right? It's the same thing like when you're driving in your car and you're not focusing on all the things you've got to do that day, perhaps. You get the brilliant download, or when you're taking the shower, you get the download for the next brilliant idea that's going to make you money or move the needle forward in your life. And that's been my experience over the past few weeks of just having more time and space without being in so many meetings, without doing kind of the daily grind, that I've been having some downloads, and it's been really, really fun. And so along with those downloads, I created something new. There was something new I was inspired to create, and I'll share a bit more about that towards the end here. But first, I want to also teach some new content that I haven't taught before, in the hope that it really provides value to you. We're going to be talking a lot today about your financial set point, how to identify what it is, how to shift it as well. So put in the comments below, if you're here joining live, what is it that you are most either looking to learn or most struggling with when it comes to money and abundance? Like, how can I be of service to you today? I have some content pre-planned. I have some things I'm going to teach, like I said, like specifics about financial set point and how you can raise it. But I also want to really be of service to you if you're here live. So I would love to know, what is it that you're most looking to learn? Where are you currently feeling challenged or struggling? And I also have some time carved out towards the end to just do live coaching with any of you who are here live and answer your questions on that as well. So I would love to know that too as well. So pop it in the comments. And if something resonates with you from this, let me know what resonates in the chat too. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be engaging. I wasn't planning on coming back and doing a live or doing a lot of new content until a couple weeks from now, but I wanted to share this now because the inspiration was really flowing. And that's something else I just want to share. I'm kind of like, I've got some notes here for you, but I also just want to channel and just share with you what shows up in real time. Part of tapping into the energy of abundance is being available for those, I call them divine downloads, for the inspirations, for the unexpected. Like, you think you got a plan. I don't know about any of you. These past few months for me have been a lot of like, oh, you think you got a plan, And then guess what? You're going to get a major redirect. So that's probably, I'm going to be sharing more about that on the podcast as I come back to recording more live and sharing here. But that also has to do with money and tapping into the energy of abundance. Like I wasn't planning on going live and teaching new content, but this week it was like, this is the, I mean, actually, if I'm being honest, yesterday, I was like, I need to do a live tomorrow and it's a Saturday, but we show up for it and it felt right. And so here we are and you're here watching it. So I'm so grateful for that. And I really hope to be of service to you with that. So, okay, let's talk about how this concept of money and abundance, like why are we talking about this when you may be newer to my brand and you may have, I know a lot of you have been coming in recently from Salesforce or from like the sales world. And those of you who have been in my sphere for a long time, you probably know like we don't just talk tactical sales strategy here, although that's important. And that's a lot of my background. But I want to also just give some context if you're like, okay, I thought this was sales training, or I thought that's all she did. I will share why I'm so passionate about teaching this topic and then also how it ties in with sales. So, I always feel a little old when I say this, but I've been in sales for about 20 years, starting off in corporate. Karina, sorry, I'm so excited to see everyone joining in. I got to give a shout out to some of my clients. Karina, so good to see you. So I've been in the sales world for about 20 years, first in corporate and then as an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for about the past 8 years. And look, I can teach you tactical sales strategy all day long. Like it's my background, it's easy for me. And yet, there was a long period in my own life when all I knew was the tactical, and I was really good at tactical. Like I knew exactly how to craft a pitch letter. I knew exactly how to send a high converting email. I knew exactly how to say the right closing line. And yet I stayed in struggle. And what I wasn't aware of is that there was something much bigger that I didn't know that would have made a tremendous difference in my results if I had built the tactical on a foundation of this. And so when I work with my clients now, and those of you who are clients, you know this. Hello, hello, everyone who's joining. We do the tactical element, of course, like that's important. The strategic element is important, but I always want to build it on a strong foundation for you of there's 3 core areas that I've seen move the needle more in my own life. And I'll share some of my own story of how I went from struggling and stuck at the same financial level for 10 years to literally turning my annual income into my monthly income in 6 weeks. And it was by applying what I'm going to teach you today. And it's these 3 core areas that I've seen be the biggest and also the least talked about or the most overlooked, the most dismissed, that actually creates the results. And so those 3 areas are number 1, how do you reprogram your brain for the results you want? We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Number 2, this is typically more specific to the women I serve in the community. By the way, if you're here and you're a man, I am so excited you're here. A lot of my private clients are men. A lot of the clients I work with in the consulting world are men. I love working with you. And what I'm about to talk about actually applies to all of us. It's just not everyone is quite open to it yet. But so what I work on with quite a few of my clients, especially the women I work with, is integrating their masculine and feminine energy into their business and into the process of making money for them, because feminine is all about receiving. And I don't care what gender you are. If you aren't open to receive, and if you don't have the right energy mix, the right balance between masculine and feminine energy in how you approach making money, you're going to feel tired. You're going to feel burnt out. You're going to feel exhausted. You're going to feel like you're pushing and hustling all the time. And it's going to feel like you're never receiving what you actually want to receive. In fact, I just got a text from a dear friend and a client who is in the financial world. And I was listening to it before this training. And she was like, I am feeling so burnt out. I am feeling so exhausted. And she was like, and I look at the women in the financial world around me and they're all struggling with the same thing. Like they're so in their masculine energy because that's what the environment is, that they don't even realize it. And that's how I operated for most of my life too. And part of why I was in so much struggle. We're not going to go super deep into that today. My plan is to have a live event for you coming up in the next month or so that's way more about integrating feminine energy into your sales strategy. So if you're excited for that, let me know. Give me a heart or a thumbs up, or yes, there will be more coming on that soon. But today, what I really felt inspired to share with you is more around money. And this is the third area. So the first area is shifting your belief systems. The second is integrating masculine and feminine energy. And then the third is around how do we shift our money mindset and our wealth consciousness? Because that will open you up to sell, to make money, to receive money, to have a wildly different experience of sales than you ever believed was possible. And so if you're here live, pop in the comments. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a salesperson? Because regardless of what you are, whether you're an entrepreneur or a salesperson or a sales leader, you are in the business of making money. All right. And in fact, we all deal with money every single day, right? And unfortunately, most of us, and I'm raising my hand as someone who had this experience for most of my life, struggle tremendously in this area, whether we realize it or not. Most people are swimming in scarcity mindset, in fear around money, in anxiety around money. Swimming may be strong. Maybe you don't feel like you're swimming, but is there like a little bit of a, like when the bills have to go out or when you don't make the sale? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel anxiety about, oh my gosh, like, am I going to hit my goals this month? Am I going to hit my targets? How am I going to pay for the trip I want to go on? How am I going to, I know there's members of our community who support their parents or their family and their loved ones, right? Like it is universal that this is something we all deal with. And so what we often don't realize, and what I didn't realize for the longest time, is that the thing that's going to help you achieve your financial goals and make more sales and money, it's not just another tactic, although those matter, those are important, of course, and that's part of the masculine approach and the masculine strategy that we want to integrate into our sales and business process. But that is when you start to study neuroscience and you start to study the way the mind works and the brain works, the strategy part is actually only 2 to 5% of what is going to create your results. It's only 2 to 5%. And so what we don't realize, when we don't realize that, we can feel like we're spinning our wheels. And let me know if you can relate to that too. Like, have you ever felt like I'm doing all the right strategic things and yet the needle's not moving? I'm making the same amount of money no matter what I do. I'm spinning my wheels. You're feeling frustrated. You're feeling maybe embarrassed or ashamed, like you should be better at this, right? Or why are you not getting better results? And you look at the people either at the top of the leaderboard in your company, or you look at others in your industry if you're an entrepreneur and you're like, well, they must be doing some different tactic than I'm doing. Possibly. And more likely, there's something in their belief system and something in their identity that allows them to have a different level of results than you're currently experiencing. Because 95 to 98% of the results that you get in terms of your sales, your business, your money is tied to your identity, your subconscious programming about how much money you make. We're going to talk about that today, that concept of the financial set point and how to shift it, what you're worthy of receiving, how business works for you, how clients work for you, how relationships work for you. That's a big one that, again, I'm not going to go super deep into today. It's been probably my own area that I've been really learning the most about recently, is like just relationships and how different limiting beliefs I had in relationships has impacted and shown up in business and in sales. So there will be more to come on that as I'm more out of the school that I'm in right now, learning that. But so much of it, 95 to 98% of our results are tied to in here, not the tactical. Let me see what David is saying. So good to see you, David, by the way. The second point resonates with me, is the tendency is to make a sale happen, often out of fear or lack, rather than create an environment where a sale can happen and I can receive it. Oh my gosh, that's good. Yes, that is so, so good. And give David a heart or a yes if you can resonate with that. Um, and that's so common too. And that's like, how much is that conditioned in corporate, right? I know it certainly was for me when I was in corporate. But then even if you are an entrepreneur, you become an entrepreneur, we can carry that with us. We carry that same like energy of I've got to make a sale. Like we can become our own worst boss and our own worst nightmare if we're not familiar with how these concepts work that we're going to talk about at a deep, deep level. And so such a good point. And I appreciate you sharing that, David, as a man, because the receiving piece is critical, whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. We all want to learn how to integrate these two types of energy. And what I am grateful for is I feel like there is a shift happening in the consciousness of the planet where more and more people are opening up to this. So if you are one of those people, I am here for it. I'm grateful. And if you haven't thought about it before, just be open-minded. It's all good. Marlena, hello, my friend. I thought about you this morning. So good to see you. All right. So let me share just a little bit of, I want to share my own story of this and why I'm so passionate about teaching this now. So I'm going to share a little bit about growing up. And I want to also say that everything I share is zero disrespect to family, parents. I adore my parents. I adore my family. And I also know now as a parent, a mom of two now, like there's stuff that my sons are going to learn that I didn't know. And there's stuff that they're going to be like, Mom, this was a limiting belief you carried and I didn't realize it. And so we all kind of pick up on those things from our parents and the people who raise us. And so I just want to share, like, this is zero disrespect to my parents. It's just literally like, this was the environment. This is some of what I picked up on from my environment growing up that created some limiting beliefs around money. And it's been a beautiful blessing to get to learn how to shift those in my life. And so for us growing up, we were upper middle class, so we had money, but the experience of having money was not there. So I never felt like we had it. And I think that's probably because my parents didn't necessarily feel like we had it either. There was a lot of focus on clipping coupons. If my mom and sister and I went shopping, we would often kind of hide what we bought from my dad, who was the moneymaker in the family. And there was a lot of guilt and shame and anxiety around money. Like it kind of is what it is. And I got programmed into that thinking and belief. And when you learn about the subconscious and how it works from the ages of 0 to 7, you are completely in your subconscious mind, which essentially means you're under hypnosis. So whatever the vibe, the feel is around money, the limiting beliefs that your parents may have had around money, you're picking up on those and you're not able to discern whether they're true or not. You just take them in and literally are being programmed with them to be your truth. And the whole job of the subconscious mind, it's like the operating system for your computer. Whatever it takes in, whatever the neural connections are that form and the belief systems are that form, the whole job of the subconscious is to go about filtering out any information that would not make your outer reality match with your inner beliefs. And so I got programmed for some like funky scarcity thinking. Most of us did, because it's how most of the world operates. Okay. Again, no disrespect to our parents. I believe everyone is doing the best they can with what they have. And I'm actually very grateful for that experience, because now I get to make this my work that I care really deeply about. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit so I can see comments better. But it is what it is. And so with that, I didn't know it, but I was in scarcity mindset for a really long time in my life. And I went out of college into corporate sales. And my experience was, I was very driven. I was very motivated. I was a top performer in my office. A lot of it was ego driven. A lot of it was using money for validation, which, by the way, if you're looking to make more money, if there's any part of you that's like, I'll feel validated when I make this amount, it's not how you get money to come to you. Or you'll get there and you'll still feel invalid. You'll still feel unfulfilled. You'll feel, some people, I don't like to use the word fraud, but some people use that word. Like, you'll feel like it's not really yours. You'll still feel scarcity, lack, all of it. So abundance is not about having a certain amount of money for validation. Okay. And abundance at the end of the day, actually, like money is one piece of it, but it's more of an energy that you put out into the world. So we're going to talk more about that today too. But so for me, I was in corporate sales and I was a top producer in that world. And uh, there was, what do I want to say? There was a lot under the surface that I wasn't sharing with people that I was really struggling with. And I was struggling with anxiety, a lot of anxiety around money, anxiety even around sales. Let me know if you can relate to this in the comments too. Like I would be on a sales call and it would be like do or die. Because if this client doesn't sign, I'm going to have to go back and, put my number up on the leaderboard and I'm going to experience shame if I have to put a big zero on there. Like, this was the dynamic that I was in. So I would feel so anxious and nervous, even though I was good at sales. I'd feel nervous going into sales calls. I'd be in anxiety about money every month. It always felt like there wasn't quite enough. I was dealing with an eating disorder. I was dealing with panic attacks, really low self-worth too. And so it was a bit of a cluster. Like, I'm just going to call it what it was. And again, I wasn't talking with people about it, which makes it even harder because I had a lot of shame around it. I had a lot of guilt around it because I thought I had to be perfect. Again, that is another thing that will actually block the flow of money in your life. So if you feel like you have to be perfect in order for it to come, in order for people to like you, in order for you to have ideal clients, that's a massive limiting belief. It will create the experience of feeling like you have to be perfect to receive what you want, but it does not actually have to be your truth. So there's that. And all the while, I'm doing all the right tactical things, investing in myself tens of thousands of dollars to work with coaches and trainers and mentors, implementing tactical strategy. And yet for 10 years, I stayed stuck at the same financial level. So interesting, right? I was in sales, could pretty much make unlimited income in the role I was in. Then during that same time period, during that same 10-year period, I went on to become an entrepreneur. I launched my own business, made the exact same amount of money as I had made when I was in corporate sales. And it never dawned on me, because I didn't know what I'm going to teach you today. It never dawned on me that, there may be something beneath the surface that's creating this same result. Now it was $10,000 a month, give or take. And I'm going to share numbers today so you have context of how transformational this work can be. I made about $10,000 a month for 10 years, no matter what I did, no matter what job I was in, no matter whether I was in sales, an entrepreneur, no matter if I had a lot of sales calls or a few sales calls, I would continuously make $10,000 a month, give or take. And if I had a month where I made more, the next month I'd make a little less, and vice versa. If I had a month where I made less, the next month I would somehow another sale would seem to come through that, I hit that 10,000 a month average again. And so, they talk about the definition of insanity, like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I think I finally broke out of the insanity that I was living in and started to say, there's got to be a different way to approach this. And so I think when we're ready, we're connected with the right mentors, the right teachers. And for me at that point, when I finally opened up to there has to be a different way, I started just getting connected with or finding online different mentors and teachers who taught money and business in a very different way than I had ever heard about. And I started learning about neuroscience and the power of our belief systems around money. I started learning, oh my gosh, this stuff is actually responsible for 95 to 98% of our results. I started learning about the concept of a financial set point, which I'm going to teach you today. I started working with more female mentors too, who were very successful in business and learning a different way and a different energy of creating money and financial results. And so with that, I started studying at a deeper level. And when I finally, there was a period where I was studying it, but I wasn't really embodying it yet. When I finally got it and I really learned it and went all in on applying it in a period of 6 weeks, I was able to turn my annual income into my monthly income and create a radically different life for myself, for my family, totally different experience of business, of sales, of financial flow. And that was again after a decade of spinning. And so I share all of that to say that, money certainly isn't everything. And we live in a society where you've got to have resources to support you, right? I think a lot of times we make ourselves wrong for wanting more. That can be a big, actually, I call it like a money red light. It'll stop the flow of money if you make yourself wrong for wanting more. I did that for many years. And I'm here to say I've lived life both in scarcity energy and in abundance energy. It is a radically different experience. And when I was in scarcity around money, it was actually a very selfish experience for me because all I ever thought about was how am I going to make money this month? What's going to happen if we can't pay the bills? I wasn't present with my family. I'll just share a little bit of the before and after of the shift here. Before I had really learned and embodied these concepts, like the experience of sales, the experience of making money, the experience of my business, it was stressful. I was always in stress. And our first son, Jack, came during that time when I was still kind of the before of the shift. And a lot of the shift has happened like since early in his life. But I was thinking about it the other day because now we've got our 5-week-old, and my experience as a mom now is very different. And I have had to do some inner work. I'll be so real with you. I've had to do some inner work to release some guilt over how I know I probably wasn't fully present with our first son when he came, because my mind was still caught up in scarcity thinking. And my mind I was like, I just had this baby, but yet I got to still pay the bills this month. And how am I going to do it? And in fear and anxiety around money. And again, like I wanted to be honest with you because you can hear a story like that and hear like, oh my gosh, she had this happen and she turned her annual income into her monthly income. And yes, and that has been great. And it didn't come without having a lot of challenges along the way. There's still challenges. Like there's stuff every day that shows up that's a challenge. But it really, like, before I learned these concepts, it was a very different reality. And I also, my heart is so with you. If you can relate a little bit more to the before, and if you feel comfortable, give me a heart or let me know in the comments if you can relate to that at all, because I get it. And I've been there if you can. I want to say with that, my heart and my passion are really in helping you shift your experience of not just business and sales, but of your life. And in order to do that, and the way our society is structured, for most of us, it requires that we have a really healthy level of financial flow. And that's going to be different for every one of you. So the number doesn't really matter. It's more about your experience of life. Like, are you in scarcity or are you in an energy of abundance? And I know now in my own life, like after learning these things and making these shifts, we've had a radically different experience as a family. I was blessed in being able to retire my husband. I guess it was a couple years now, close to that. And he's been able to stay home and study for his dream of going to medical school and be present with both of our sons now as they've come into the world. And I know, just because of the men I work with, I know how many dads also would like really like that experience. There's a part of them, as much as you like work, which I get, that also desires to have more freedom and flexibility to be with family or do the things you want to do. I'm able to have a beautiful income and work 2 to 4 hours a day, and have a lot of time for our family life. We've been able to have incredible experiences. We just got back from hosting a retreat in Sedona. Some of you were there. Some of you saw the pictures. You can go check out my Instagram if you didn't see that. But have beautiful retreats for my clients and beautiful experiences. We're doing the part-time RV life thing right now for our family, and it's just really fun. And so, and give donations. I I think that's really important for the members of our community. I know many of you, it's like you don't just want to make more money to have more money for you. You want to be able to donate and flow money out. And so we give generously to organizations. I'll shout some of them out here because I always want to, give them attention and airtime. Friends to the Forlorn Pitbull in Georgia is a huge one that we believe in and support. The Give, what is it? Give to Give. I'm having a total brain fart right now. Joe Dispenza's organization, Give to Give, I think. We've donated pretty heavily to as well along the years, and you should check that one out too if you believe in his work. But anyway, all of that to say, it matters. And you shifting into an energy of abundance and more than enough with money, with prosperity in your life, it matters, and it will boost your sales and your business results in ways you could never imagine. We'll talk about why in a minute. And it's also going to be a blessing to the people in your life, the people you want to give to, the organizations you want to support. And it creates a really beautiful ripple effect as well. So with all of that, quick water break. And then I want to talk about a financial set point and what that looks like. So one of the biggest things that will shift your experience of money, your experience of sales, your experience of abundance in your life is learning that you have a financial set point and then knowing how to shift it. So let me know in the comments if you're here live, like, do you know what a financial set point is? Have you heard of that before? Are you familiar with that? Or is this like, okay, this is a totally new concept that I've never heard of before? Well, it is a real thing. And if you're curious what your financial set point is, take a look at what you earn every month. So like I mentioned to you before, mine for the vast majority of my working career was $10,000 a month. I would make it no matter what business I was in, no matter what industry I was in, no matter whether the economy was good, bad, indifferent, I would make about $10,000 a month. And what is really interesting as we start to learn this and study this is most people will make about within 3 to 5% of what their parents made growing up. Because again, formative years of your life, you are being programmed. And so you're being programmed for everything. What language are you going to speak? What type of food are you going to like or not like? What's your belief system about yourself? You're also being programmed with your experience of money and what's normal, what's not, what sort of lifestyle is normal. And so we grew up in a household where, my dad was making about that much. I think maybe a little more. Again, like when we grew up, that money was more than it was for me making it a couple decades later. But that was like, I just had it in my mind growing up. Okay, I just need to make 6 figures and then I'll be set. And so that's what I went on to do. And so again, if you're curious what your financial set point is, take a look at the average of what you've made over the past couple months to 12 months, and you'll see that is your financial set point. And it's just like we all have a weight set point. Like there's a weight that your body is comfortable at, that you naturally kind of just are at all the time, unless you do something very different for what you're used to doing. And there's also a financial set point. There's set points for everything in our life because it's the way that your brain is wired, is to conserve energy and to normalize and standardize as much as possible for you so that it doesn't have to be constantly thinking. And so if you're curious about, well, I shouldn't say constantly thinking, your brain is obviously constantly thinking, but anything that can be put on autopilot, that is the job of the subconscious to do that for you to help conserve energy. So if you're curious more about this, the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz is a really powerful one. By the way, welcome everyone who's joined on Instagram recently. Is it Meta? It's so good to see you, Leslie. I am Psych. So good to see you. Psycho-Cybernetics is a really beautiful book that talks about the science of how this works. But your financial set point, it's just the same as having a thermostat, right? And so the thermostat, like even as I say this, I'm like, okay, we clearly did not put on the air conditioning today because it is hot in this room right now. So after this, I'm going to go turn on the air conditioning because this room is like a bit of a boiler right now. But that's how the thermostat works, right? We set it for a certain temperature in our home, and it will cool the home down to that temperature or heat it up if there's a disturbance in the force, right? So to speak. So you got it set for a certain amount. You open the door in the morning, it's cool outside. Well, guess what? The thermostat's going to kick in and it's going to add some heat to get it back to that set temperature. Conversely, later on in the afternoon, it's hotter outside. You open up the door, you forget to close it, the heat's coming, and the air conditioning is going to kick on to cool it down. So you also have a financial set point that does the same thing. And so research shows that by the age of 35, about 95% of who you are is a hardwired set of programs that exist in your subconscious mind so that you're running life on autopilot. So if you think about it, you probably tend to do the same things every day without thinking about them for the most part. You get up, you have the same morning routine, you drive the same way to work if you drive to work, or you do the same thing every morning as you start your day in your office at home. There's probably a set number of foods that you cook at night for your meal. You have the same schedule. So we become programmed and we continue to have the same experience day in and day out unless we do something to shift it. Now, the beautiful thing, and this is part of the research of neuroplasticity, is that you can change your programming. You can change your conditioning, but you have to be consciously doing it. You have to know how to do it as well. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that too. And so again, just remembering, like, how does this happen? How do we get programmed for a certain amount of money? Again, ages of 0 to 7, you are completely in your subconscious mind. You're in delta brainwave state, which is what you are when you're in deep sleep from ages about 0 to 2. And then from 2 to about 7, your brainwaves are in theta, which is what they're in if you're being hypnotized or if you're being, that's what you're in if you're being hypnotized. And so whatever you hear about money or whatever you see demonstrated about money, it's bigger than money too, like worthiness. How safe is it for you to be visible or seen in the world? These things are all coming in and programming you to create a certain level of results. And so with all of that, again, just kind of recognize whatever your set point is. And are you clear on what it is? Let me know if you're joining live. Like, you don't have to say what it is in the comments, but are you clear on what your set point is as I talk through this? Because it's really powerful to know. And to make a change, you've got to also know where are you starting from. You got to know where you want to go, and you got to know where you're starting from. And so how do we start to shift this? Now, if you're listening to this and you're totally happy with what you're bringing in right now and what life looks like right now, beautiful. Like, you don't need to adjust the thermostat necessarily. But if you're listening to this and you realize that, gosh, you know what? I actually would love to make more money. I actually would love to have a different experience with sales, with abundance. Then I want you to really listen to what I have to say here, because this is important, because you can change this. You can shift your reality here, but you got to know what you're doing and how to do it. So the first thing I would do is you got to really get tuned into, what do I actually want to make, right? What is my financial target? What do I want to bring in? And just check in with yourself energetically. When you think about that number, how does it feel to you? All right. I know for a long time in my own life, I wanted to become a 7-figure earner, and I wanted to have the experience of what it was like to do that. And when I wasn't there yet, I was when I would think about that amount and think about that number, it felt big. And there was also a part of me that felt separate and disconnected from it. And so if it feels big, or if you feel disconnected from that amount, then it's not your set point yet. And of course, it's also not your set point if you're not making it yet. But that's okay. That's just feedback. But what happens is when we use processes, which I'm going to share some of them with you today here, when we use certain processes to normalize and naturalize that number to us, it'll actually start to, even before you've started making it yet, you'll start to feel like it's less big. It'll start to feel more normal and more natural. And that's always how I know in my own life. And when I know for my clients that a result is on its way, is they can talk about the goal. And even though it hasn't happened yet, as they talk about it, it feels natural to them. It feels normal. It starts to feel kind of like an of course. Like if you think about the amount you make right now, if it's something you've been making for any amount of time, it probably feels like an of course to you. Or maybe there's something else, like you're really good at podcasting, or you're really good at, I know soccer is what's showing up right now. And it feels like, well, of course I'm good at that. Well, that you have naturalized and normalized that in your body and in your brain, that that's something that you're good at. And so you can do it almost on autopilot. I had someone comment on one of my LinkedIn posts the other day, and he said, I hadn't golfed for 5 years. And the other day I got out and I did it again. And it was like, literally, it was muscle memory. Like I just knew how to do it. It was like I hadn't missed a day. I could definitely not say that about golf for myself, but I can say that about other things, because when we internalize it and when we build the belief system and the identity that something just naturally is for us, then the whole job of the subconscious mind is to go about making that your reality. So that's and I'm going a bit off script here, but I want to share like what's showing up for you. That's a really beautiful thing when you start to study and learn neuroscience and how this works. Is it's like you have this servant in your subconscious mind that's there always to make what you believe to be true about yourself your reality. And so if we want to shift our results, if you want to shift your financial set point, your financial reality, I would encourage you, go inward first. I mean, you can matter on matter this thing, like Joe Dispenza says, like you can hustle it, you can push it, you can force it. But even if you get there with that approach, number one, it's probably not going to last, because you never actually shifted your identity to be someone who can hold and own that type of result. Or you'll get there and you'll feel so burnt out, so exhausted, so depleted that you'll be like, this wasn't even worth it in the first place. And I've been there. Like I'm saying that as someone who's been there. And so how do we start to shift our set point in a permanent and lasting way? So I would say the first thing is it has to be a decision. It has to be a decision, and it has to have a firm intensity, and it has to be a must for you. And usually there has to be some sort of an emotional impact with that. It can't be like, oh, I think it would be nice to make $1 million this year. It won't happen for you if that's your energy around it. And that's okay. Because a lot of people think they want to make $1 million, but they don't actually need that much for their life, or they actually need more and they're not aware of that yet too. So with money, I'm always a big believer in tune into the purpose of the money. Why do you want it? Why does that specific amount matter versus I'm going to pick a number because it feels like validation. Okay. So number one, it has to be a decision, because there's going to be shifts that are required on your part that are that feel uncomfortable. You're going to have to show up as a different person. You're going to have to make different types of decisions. You're probably going to have to be more disciplined. You're going to have to probably take bigger and bolder risks, bigger and bolder action. And the old version of you doesn't do that. And he or she is afraid of doing that. He or she feels uncomfortable putting themselves out there in that way. He or she feels afraid of investing that amount of money in that coach or that mentor or that program that you feel called to do. And so it's going to require that your decision and your commitment be bigger than your fear and bigger than your desire for comfort. And so for me, I shared with you a bit earlier that I was kind of tiptoeing around this for a while. And I was playing in this world for a while before I really had a true, like, wow, quantum leap type experience. And it was probably a couple of years for me of like actually studying money and abundance and the subconscious and belief systems and energy of money and how it works before I made a firm decision that something was actually going to shift in my life. And so if you're not there yet, if you're not at the point of decision, you don't have to make yourself wrong for it. But for me, what I will say is that I had to get a powerful perspective shift. And that did it for me. And I'll tell you what that was in just a second. So I don't know if you've ever read Bronnie Ware's book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. But I read this. This was actually when our first son, Jack, I started reading it like when he was on his way, and then I finished it up when he was a newborn. And there was something about reading that book that shifted so much for me. Have you read it? For those of you who are here live, give me a heart or a yes if you've read it, or if not, and just say no in the comments. But I can't recommend it enough because it was such a powerful perspective shifter. And it was this woman who had been a hospice care worker, and she sat with a lot of people on their deathbed. And she put together, Christine's saying no, oh, read it if you can. It's really, really powerful. She put together a culmination of, like, it was basically these 5 core regrets that people had on their deathbed. And they all were common threads. Now, I will say none of them wish that they had worked more. And that, I think, is really, that was helpful for me to learn too, because I was very much addicted to work at the time I was reading this. But they were regrets of things like not playing full out in their life, or not, having the experiences with family that they wanted to have, not being present with their family the way they wanted to be, not like just not living life the way that they personally wanted to. And when I read that and I realized and just thought about, like, I was only in my, I was like, I think 34 when I was reading it, 33, 34. So it's not like, I mean, I think I have a decent amount of time left. None of us know, right? But I read it and something struck me that, like, there were so many bigger things I wanted to do with my life that I'd been saying someday to, or that I'd been saying maybe to, or saying, well, that's for somebody else, but not for me. And there was something about it, and probably also with, my son coming in at the time, that I was starting to really, like, just open up to a bigger picture perspective on life. And I made the decision after I read that book that I was no longer available to play small. I was no longer available to delay my dreams. I was no longer available to, there were so many ways I was hiding at that point in my life. I was hiding behind, I wanted to be out all on my own, running my business and my brand. And yet I wasn't confident or comfortable enough to do that yet. So I was kind of hiding behind partnerships, and beautiful partnerships, like amazing, amazing people I was working with. But for me, it was a version of hiding. So I was hiding behind that. I wasn't playing full out. I wasn't like, I was in scarcity and fear again around money every month. My husband and I were living a very, I would say, like, good, but kind of average life. And I just wanted more. I wanted the experience. I remember when I turned 35, I made this decision and I said, I want to experience the fullness of who I am. And whatever that looks like, whatever that takes, I'm going to do it, because I don't actually know how much time I have left. One of my good friends and business partners had died at age, I think he was 40, a couple of years before. And I was like, I don't know how much time I have left. And I'm done playing small and I'm done being comfortable. And that decision was made with a level of firmness. I remember I said that to myself right as the clock turned on my 35th birthday. And I was like, my wish was, I want to experience the fullness of who I am. And I want you to just check in with yourself right now. I plan on doing this for about an hour. We may go a little bit longer, but I want to really be here for you with this. Check in with yourself right now. What would it look like and feel like for you to experience the fullness of who you are? And are there dreams that you're putting off because you say later, or I can't afford it right now? Are there ways in which you're shrinking, ways in which you're playing small, ways in which you're saying that's for so-and-so, but not for me? You are the only one who can give yourself permission to shift the experience of your life. You are the only one. And that's what I really got that shifted things for me, that no one was going to come give me permission. No one was coming to give me permission to have the life I wanted, which required way more money than I was making, to finally be open to getting out of this pattern of scarcity I'd been in for so many years without even knowing it. Like, no one was going to come do it for me. I was going to have to do it myself. And I made that firm decision that I was done suffering and struggling in this area because I realized how much of my life it had consumed and how not present I was going to be with my family, with my loved ones, with my new son, if I continued to be consumed with scarcity. And so there has to be a decision made with a firmness and intensity that means you're not going back. And so if you have been available for an experience of scarcity, if you've been available for an experience of not living the full life you want to live, I want to invite you to make your decision that you're done with that. Again, I can't make it for you. You got to do it for yourself. But it's not going to shift until you make the decision. And when you make the decision, you will be required to do some things that are uncomfortable. You will be required to do some things that the old version of you would not have done. You're going to have to get uncomfortable because it's actually going to require you to become a different person in the process. And this is a lot of what I teach and work on with my clients too, is again, if we want to create lasting results, if we want to create a very different reality for ourselves, it's not the strategy, the tactics, it's 2 to 5% of it. We got to get under the hood. We got to actually shift your identity because your results will never supersede your identity. Your level of results will never supersede your identity. So your sales will never supersede your identity. The money you bring in every month, it will never supersede your identity. Okay. So you have to actually start to shift if you're going to raise your financial set point. And when you do that, what's beautiful is when you naturalize and normalize that number and get your subconscious to accept, this is how much money I make now. The whole job of the subconscious, again, is to go to work for you, helping you make that your reality. Okay, so it's beautiful how this works. You don't have to know the how yet. You just have to decide you're going to have it. It's the job of the subconscious. Once it actually gets clear, like, no, you mean it, it's happening, it will guide you to the how. This is how it works. It's beautiful. So you've got to shift your perspective on money. You got to shift your perspective on worthiness. You got to shift your perspective on receiving, and just tuning into those things a bit here, like with worthiness, that is, we don't realize how much that plays into our financial set point. And this was the big one for me. This is the big one for a lot of the members of the community that I work with, is there's often a level of a part of us that doesn't feel worthy of receiving the amount of money we want to receive. And what is so true is your level of income will never exceed your level of self-worth. I want you to like write that down and really get that. Your level of income will never exceed your level of self-worth. So if you're looking to create a different level of income, it's going to require a higher level of self-worth. And we can start to do that for ourselves by practicing, you call them moments of worthiness throughout the day. If someone gives you a compliment, I receive that. Like instead of deflecting it, receive it. Practice being in the energy of receiving when you receive a sale, no matter how big or how small. Practice playing with like, I'm worthy of that. Thank you. Right. And just notice when you say that, does any part of you want to balk at it and say, oh, but that's ego, or you should be more humble than that? Like, no, you are worthy because you are. I look at our 5-week-old now and our 2.5-year-old, and it's like, they're just worthy because they are. And I'm working to program them with that belief system. Every night I say to them, you can be and do and have anything you want, and you're worthy of it. That's something I learned from Bob Proctor that he said to his sons that I love. And I didn't get conditioned with that growing up. So I've had to recondition myself to feel worthy of what I want. But you got to feel worthy of it. And you got to practice that every day. Your environment is key, right? I want you to think about with your environment. If you're looking to shift your financial set point, what are you feeding your mind? What are you paying attention to? Are you watching the news, which is riddled with stories of scarcity and fear and lack? Are you, reading financial reports? And not that there's anything wrong with being informed. I think that's important. And what's the energy that you're in when you're reading it? And are you reading it in an energy of fear and scarcity and, oh my gosh, what's going on with the economy? Or are you reading it in an energy of, this is a big opportunity, right? Because that's what a wealthy person would do. That's how they would think. That's how an abundant person would approach that. So what are you feeding your mind? And are you paying attention to stories of lack and fear and scarcity? Or are you studying how abundant people think? And that was one of the biggest things that really started to shift and move things for me, was getting in mentorship and training and coaching with people who had a very different financial reality than I did. And I would study with them and enroll in their programs, not so they could give me a tactic, but so I could learn how they thought, because I realized there's something different in their thinking. If they can be, some of the people I worked with were like the same age as me, had kids the same as me, and were having a very different financial experience than I was. And I realized it's not about the outer, it's about their inner beliefs. What do they think? How worthy do they feel? And I wanted to learn how they thought. So that's how, and it's something I'd recommend to you too. Now, if you're looking to shift your set point, seek out mentors, coaches, programs where you can come in, not just to get a strategy, but to learn, how does this person think? Because you want to start practicing and trying on different thoughts, different ways of thinking and being. Because again, once you try that different thought and it becomes not just a thought in your conscious mind, but you've actually gotten it and embedded it from your conscious into your subconscious, which it's a process and it's something you can absolutely do. It's something I do and work on all the time. For anything new I want to create, I've got to create a new subconscious belief around it. Once your subconscious accepts it as a belief, it accepts it as true. And then it goes to work making it your reality. Let's say you want to go from 6 to 7 figures like I did. I don't know. You need to get in the energy of people, mentors who have created that amount of result in their life and that amount of financial flow, and learn how they think, and then try on their belief systems and practice different thoughts. It's how it works. Also, being around people who think that the current amount of money that you're making is not a lot is really important. I have found, not that we ever want to downplay or minimize any amount of money. I mean, this is part of abundance too, is being grateful for what you have and being available for more. And so for me, when I first started thinking about, $100,000 months, I was like, oh, I felt so big. But then I was working with mentors who were like, that's tiny. Like I couldn't live off of that. Right. And so it shifted the perspective for me, because I thought it was so huge. And there was a time in my life when I thought $10,000 months was huge. There was a time in my life where I thought $5,000 months was huge. So it gets to be stepping stones for you too. This isn't like you've got to go from 0 to 60. That actually can be quite uncomfortable and not sustainable feeling. But like, what's the next amount you want to call in that feels really good to you, that's there for a purpose? And then get in environments with other people who are both going for that amount, and work with mentors who help you see and shift your perspective that there's much larger amounts out there. Because once we do that, when it stops feeling so big and it starts to feel more natural to you, that's when, again, your brain starts to accept it. So we want to really normalize and naturalize that amount for you, and having that perspective shift from someone else kind of mirroring back to you how small that amount is for other people. It's because, again, it's all perspective, is really, really powerful. And then I would say too, just really working to shift your relationship with money. And we don't have time to do like a deep dive into that today. I share a lot about that in my programs and teachings, how to create a really beautiful, dynamic, supported experience of money. But just know, like, money is meant to be your servant, not your master. And I'll say it again because I want you to actually get that. Money is meant to be your servant, not your master. So, how do you know if it's your master? Are you saying, I'll do that when I have the money? Are you feeling fear every time you go to pay the bills? Are you in anxiety about money? Are you limiting your experience and saying no to the things you really want because there's not enough money? Or you have a story that there's not enough money? What if that is true for you? And so if any of those things are going on, or are you judging other people who have more money? That's actually a way that we block it. We judge people who have what we want. And anything you judge is a mirror back to you of something that's in you. Either a part of yourself that you don't love, that you've been rejecting, or something that you're actually meant to have, but you're telling yourself you can't have it. So everyone and everything is just a mirror. Remember that. So again, money is meant to be your servant. Money is a tool. It is meant to help you create what you want to create in this lifetime. That's it. And I would also encourage you to have the belief system that if anyone can make a certain amount of money, you can too. Use it as evidence that you can do it, not saying, well, she can do it because of that. She doesn't have kids. She had a better, I don't know, upbringing, or he has more time to work during the day. You know, I'm a mom. I don't have that much time. Right? Like, look at the judgments we make. And I have done this too. I've got to catch myself when these things come up, but I know how to catch it now, and I know how to shift it and say to someone else who's doing what I want to do, thank you so much for mirroring to me what's possible. Thank you so much for showing me what I'm meant to create next in my life. Thank you. And when we're in that energy, then we're more in the flow with money, with abundance, right? So it's all, we want to be in flow energy. We want to be in circulation energy, all of that. So if you have questions on anything that I've shared, pop them in the comments. I'm here to answer them. I'm here to work with you on those. And here's the thing I want to just say too, like, to get a different result in this area will require you to do something different than the old you would do. It will require you to take some sort of action to do something different. And that can be it can be so many different things. It could be investing in a program that's speaking to you. It can be getting out of your comfort zone and trying a different approach with money. Like, there's a lot for me. What really moved the needle for me was investing in myself and working with investors and mentors at a level that was very uncomfortable for me. It forced me out of my comfort zone. But there is an element, people sometimes think when we talk about energy of money and the inner work, they think there's no action involved. There is action required of you. It is an important element, and you got to take some sort of a different action that is based on the decision that I'm ready for a very different result. And so with that, again, if you have questions or comments on any of this and you're here live, pop them in the comments. While you're doing that and while you're thinking about that, I'm going to take just a moment here and I want to share something that I've been inspired to create over the past couple of weeks here while I've had a little bit of time off with my babies and with my little ones. So one moment and I'll tell you what it is. I'm very excited about it. So usually when clients work with me, it's at least $10,000 to work with me in group coaching, and it's 6 figures in private coaching. I have been really feeling into lately a desire to create more things that are more, I don't want to say like entry level, but like accessible for people who want to work with me, but at a different level. And who want to make shifts in these areas, but maybe aren't ready yet for some of the group coaching or even for private coaching. And so I have put together this beautiful program called Aligned for Abundance. And it is the teachings that I teach in my group and private coaching, where clients have used these teachings to literally go on and create $270,000 in 90 days. I've had clients go in and launch high ticket coaching programs and finally charge their worth, way increase their rates. David, I see your comment here. I'm going to get to you in just a second. Thank you. Clients have doubled and tripled their rates and more with this, receive unexpected money in ways they didn't expect to receive outside of their business. Because guess what? A little tidbit for you with money. If you think it can only come in through your business or through your sales, that's the only way it's going to come in for you. But one of the things I work with clients on too is opening up. Like, money can come in so many different ways. I had a client who was looking to create a $30,000 month for herself in her coaching business. And she was really in that energy all month long. She was using a lot of these principles to bring in this $30,000. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen through her business. At the end of the month, she looked at the numbers. She was like, well, that's frustrating. But she called me and she told me, Elyse, it was like the last day of the month, and she was looking at what she brought in and she didn't hit her goal. And that same day, her husband is upstairs working in a different office, a different part of the house. He calls her up and he's like, babe, I am so excited. Guess what? I just had my best commission month ever. I made $30,000 at work. And so here's what's beautiful about that is because this client had been opening herself up to receiving money in lots of different ways. Her business was one channel that money could come through. But because she was open to it was just one channel out of an infinite number of channels money could come through, it came through a different channel, which was her husband, because for whatever reason, that was a better, easier, less resistant channel to come through. And that's a really important belief system for you to, that I would invite you to choose for yourself too, is the belief that money is always trying to make its way to you. And it's only to the extent that you resist it or think it can only come to you in a certain way that you block it. So we want to be really open to receiving money in all different ways through all different channels. And when we do that, you can have an experience like my client did of receiving money in an unexpected way, but it's still what you wanted to get. I've had that happen so many times with the members of our community where it's like, if it doesn't come through them, it comes through a partner, it comes through a spouse, it comes through a tax refund, it comes through an unexpected way. But again, you've got to have a belief system that it can. Amy, so good to see you, by the way. Happy belated birthday. I'm glad you're here. And clients have gone on to do things like launch new businesses, get promotions at work, double their income in anywhere from, we've had clients do it in 3 weeks using these principles to up to 6 months. And so let's see here. I know I can't share my screen on Instagram, but if you go to ElyseArcher.com/abundance course, let me see if I can do it over here on my computer. Let's see here. Hold on. We're using some new technology over here, friends. So we're going to see. All right, share. Okay, beautiful. All right, I was able to share it. So if you're on Instagram, you can go to ElyseArcher.com/abundance course. If you are watching this on Facebook or YouTube, or you're watching the replay later, you should be able to just see my screen. But just, I want to share with you what this is, what it's all about. It's called Align for Abundance. I have a very short-term discount code that if you're watching live, I'm going to share with you. So stay tuned because we're doing a special flash sale with this weekend. But again, if you're watching on Instagram, ElyseArcher.com/abundance course, you can go check it out. It is a combination of my best of the best money teachings, wealth consciousness teachings, prosperity teachings in one bundle for you. And it is comprehensive and it is thorough and it is beautiful and it is powerful. So I'm going to do, again, you can go through the page on your own here, but I want to share with you what is taught and what's inside. So I teach what was the shift that I made that helped me finally get unstuck after 10 years and go on to be able to turn my annual income into my monthly income so quickly, because there were very specific mental shifts I made and very specific physical things I did that created that result. So I teach you about that. We've got a module that's all about the magic of alignment as well. So this is so important. And this is something where people get tripped up, is they think, okay, if I want to make more money, I just have to feel abundant, feel abundant, feel abundant, feel abundant. Yes, that is very important. And you're going to have to actually become the version of you who makes the amount of money, the amount of sales that you desire to make. And so that's what alignment is all about. And so alignment is about how do you shift your identity to become the person who that's just natural for. This is all about shifting your financial set point, your financial thermostat. So there's a whole module where I teach that, because you don't get what you want, you get what you are. This is where people get concepts like manifestation messed up. You don't just slap it on a vision board and look at it all day long. You have to actually shift and become a different person. And so with that, there is a workshop included in this program as well. That's my vision boarding workshop. And I love this because I used to be very frustrated by the concept of vision boarding. I used to put stuff up there and then it wouldn't happen. And I'd be like, what's wrong with me? And I'd be super annoyed by people who seemed like they were really good at vision boarding. So it was when I finally learned how to vision board in a very specific way that I teach you in this workshop, that I now, when I put stuff on my board, it's like, it's happening, and it does happen. And I've got a folder it's probably not that thick. It's about that thick of things that I have created, done, manifested, brought into my experience from the vision board that actually became my reality. And I teach you the specific process here that I use in this module. Money magnets. So how do you shift into receiving and attracting energy around money rather than chasing energy? So this one is really, really powerful. Again, it doesn't matter man, woman, whatever your gender is, but we want to be in more of that receiving flow type energy with money to receive more of it. And in this module, I teach you how to do that and how to shift your dynamic around money there. There's a module on the energy of money. So every amount of money you desire to create has a certain frequency and energy to it. So I teach you how to tap into that and how to feel that, because as Einstein said, everything is energy and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and it must become your reality. He says, this is not philosophy. This is science. This is physics. So we actually tap into the energy of money and how to embody the energy of the amount you want to call in. We talk about money mindset. There's a whole module on mastering your money mindset. So how do you overcome old thinking, old programming, old limiting beliefs around money, and finally shift into the mindset of someone who has a beautiful relationship with money? Because when you shift the mindset, you shift your result. And so I take everything I've learned about shifting limiting beliefs. I've got a 6-step process around how to rewire limiting beliefs that you'll learn in this. There is a workshop on money manifestation. So if you've ever, again, been like, it feels hard to manifest the amount of money I want to make every month, or it feels challenging, or I'm doing all the right things, but something's not clicking. That is in there too. I teach, again, what I learned that shifted things significantly for me here. And then finally, you get a mini course. This is actually a 3-day program I just did in February that was called the Abundance Incubator, the Aligned for Abundance Incubator. And it's a 4-part series. And I teach both why money blocks aren't about money and how to release them once and for all. So actually money blocks typically have to do with our relationship with our parents. And there's a lot of deep teaching that goes in there for you to uncover what the money block is really about. And we had members go through this program a couple of months ago and say, oh my gosh, I never put 2 and 2 together. That's why I've struggled making money. That's why I make a certain amount every month and not more, because it's not actually about the money. Money blocks are not actually about money. They're about your self-concept, typically what you feel you have to do to be worthy to receive. And it ties back in with how you felt you had to show up around your parents growing up in order to receive love, be safe, etc. So I teach that and how to release them. I teach how to energetically match the amount of money you desire. And I teach, this is something I really, really love teaching now, is decision making, like wealthy mindset decision making. And I can tell you right now, the way a wealthy person makes decisions is always based on expansion rather than fear. So if you make decisions in your life that are like protective and reactive and like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake, you're not in alignment with abundance. And that's okay. But I would encourage you to shift it, because that's something else I had to do. I had to learn to kind of kick my own butt and get out of the old mode of making decisions in a defensive, restrictive, protective manner, and start to get okay making decisions that were based on expansion and based on growth rather than based on fear. Because this is another trick. I don't like to use the word trick, but this is another tool you can use if you're looking to shift your experience of money and abundance. Money comes to support your expansion. Right? Money is all about expansion in your life, and you are meant to expand. So if there's any part of you too that's making yourself wrong for wanting more, that is a limiting belief around money. I teach you how to drop that in this program, but you're not wrong for wanting more. You're meant to expand in life. And we get to make decisions. When we make decisions based on our expansion, then more money flows in to help support those. But oftentimes a decision must be made and an action must be made first to give the command to our subconscious that, no, this is happening. I'm serious about this, in order for it to happen. So Oh, Presser Law Firm. Hello. Is that hello? Good to see you. Hello, hello. And then, yes. So, and then the final piece of the abundance mini course is I talk about the moment and the mindset that changed my life and helped me 10x my income in 6 weeks. And so this is a beautiful culmination of all of my best money, prosperity, wealth consciousness trainings. And it is at a fraction of the investment it usually is to work with me. I will say if you are a current client and you're in 10K club or 50K club or private coaching, you have access to these already. So you don't need to go invest in this. You've got this in a different format in your programs. But if you're not currently working with me and you're not in one of my group coaching or private programs, this is a beautiful way that you can get plugged in and just create radical shifts in your life, in your sales, in your career, because this is going to teach you how to actually get under the hood, create the identity of the person who has the finances and the sales and the business that you want. And then from there, how to start receiving that at a deeper level. And so if you're watching this in real time and you're listening to this in real time, we are doing a flash sale on this now through, I had it set for Monday, which is what, the 17th, I want to say, Monday the 17th at midnight. I'm going to extend it until Tuesday because I want to give you like a couple of days after this, although I would encourage you, like, just go invest in yourself. We've got a really easy payment plan on it. We also have a paid in full where you save some money. But the code abundance100 will get you that discount. It'll get you $100 off the program now through, we'll call it Tuesday at midnight. So abundance 100 will get you $100 off. And if you're watching the replay of this and that code doesn't work, guess what? We're going to keep adding to this. You have lifetime access once you enroll. We're going to keep adding to this and adding in more and more content as I create it. You're going to get it at the best rate it is whenever you're coming across this, because we're going to keep bumping up the price as we add in more. So just know, like, whenever you're watching or listening to this, take advantage of it. It will, if you apply the principles, it will change things dramatically for you. And this is not just for women. Again, this is for anyone who wants to shift their experience of money dramatically and really, really align with the amount of abundance they want. So let me take a moment. So again, it's elisearcher.com/abundance course to grab that for you. You have lifetime access. David is saying, thank you for the new lessons and perspectives. And most of all, thank you for sharing so much of yourself and your personal journey. Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I teach this because I experienced the flip side of it for so long. And I experienced scarcity. I experienced not enough flow. I experienced all of that. And I am really, really passionate about teaching you the opposite now as well. So my pleasure. And oh my goodness, I just realized over here on Facebook and YouTube, sorry, I pulled up the wrong screen. I wasn't scrolling correctly on the program page. So let me just show you really, really quick. My bad there. Let me pull this up and show you the correct window for you here. One moment. Let's see if that's the right one. I want to actually like scroll through this and get you the right one. Okay, I just want to show you where this is. Here we go. Okay, so you can see, again, if you're watching the webinar here, scroll all the way down on the page and you'll see what the modules are. So you can see them all down here. And then there is the click to enroll button right here as well. So that is it. ElyseArcher.com/abundance course will get you plugged into the program. It's beautiful. It's my heart. I'm really, really passionate about it. And it's just something that I've put together from me to you, from my heart, to help you get these shifts without what the investment normally is to work with me. So do we have any other questions? Do we have any other ahas? Hopefully this is resonating and kind of like David said, like giving you a lot to think about as you watch this. And again, if you're watching the replay, whenever you're watching this and coming across this, I always trust it's the right time for you. It's the right time for you. So if it's speaking to you, I would encourage you, get enrolled in the program. I take everything that I've learned. I've invested several $100,000s to learn this, and I'm taking everything I've learned here and giving it to you at a much lower investment as well. And I think it'll not only transform your life, but this is, again, what my heart really is. It'll transform if you have kids or family or loved ones or friends that you're close to, like, it will transform things for them when you start to shift your energy around money and abundance and worthiness and receiving. Um, so with that, real quick, one of the common questions, and I did get this from someone in the community too ahead of time, is like struggling with the belief that money is limited. Like, I want to invest in myself. I want to invest in maybe this program or maybe a different program, but I'm like, money is limited and it doesn't grow on trees, right? Because that's a belief we pick up on growing up too. Any belief that tells you you can't have something that is a true desire on your heart, it is a limiting belief. And a limiting belief is a lie. It's nothing more than a lie. And I teach the process in this program of how to debunk it and how to rewire your mindset to shift that. But what I will say, one of the easy things to do is look at and ask, is this actually true? Like, is this actually true? And is it actually true for everyone that money is limited? No. Now, it may have felt like your experience up until this point, but is it actually true? Is it a universal truth that money is limited? No. We hear things like money doesn't grow on trees. Well, what is money? It's our currency that we use here in the States. It's paper. What are trees? It's what we use to create paper, among other things. Money is trees. So we just start to like examine and debunk some of these things. None of them are true. None of them are true. And again, if you, from an energetic standpoint, if there's something like, if you want to invest in this, or again, a different program, but you're like, oh, I don't want to invest the money, I'm feeling fear and scarcity around it, and it is a true heartfelt desire of yours to do this, money is there to support you in it. And it will sometimes require investing in a way that may feel uncomfortable. It may require using a credit card or borrowing money. I don't know. You've got to kind of know your own situation. I've used credit cards and borrowed money numerous times to do things that I felt called to that I didn't have the resources for right up front. And if I had not, I would still be where I was. And so I'm not going to make money rules for you. You've got to make your own, but don't limit yourself because of a limiting story. All right. If something is speaking to you, that is your intuition telling you this is the next step on the path to what I want, you will have to take some sort of action around it that will often feel, again, scary, uncomfortable. But I promise you, again, if you apply what it teaches, if you apply what you learn in the program, you will have a radically different experience of money. You'll be way more open to receive way more. And it won't just be a one-time thing. It'll be the rest of your life as well once you learn this. So let's see. I think that's it in terms of questions. All right. For those of you who are here live, so good to see you. So much love to you. If you're watching the replay, I'm so glad that you did. I hope it spoke to you. And again, if you want to get involved in the program, ElyseArcher.com/abundance course, and the code now through Tuesday at midnight. So we'll call it Tuesday, April 18th at midnight, is abundance 100 for $100 off. If you're watching this down the road and that code is no longer active, again, get involved, get yourself enrolled anyway, because I promise you, my friend, it's going to change your life if you apply this. It really will. So, so much love to each of you. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you real soon. Bye for now.